Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And if the facts on this list tell us anything, it's that we do not want any of this stuff to repeat.
Number 10. Burying alive. During the 18th century, being buried alive was more common than you might imagine. The high mortality rate during this period meant that doctors were not always present to confirm the actual death of a person. As a result, witnesses often relied on signs, such as the absence of breathing or a pulse, to determine if someone was dead. To prevent premature burials, people took various measures to ensure that the deceased were truly lifeless. These measures included shouting in the person's ear, inserting needles under their toenails, and even whipping them with nettles.
Stab the knife into your heart to make sure that you're not gonna be buried alive.
In Germany, hospitals for the dead were established to observe the process of decomposition in bodies to ensure they were truly deceased before burial. Some of these dead hospitals continued to exist until the 1950s. Number 9. Attack of the Dead Men. The Attack of the Dead Men is a haunting episode from World War I, which happened at a Soviet fortress located in what is now northeastern Poland on August 6, 1915. During this encounter, the German forces unleashed a deadly poison gas attack on the Russian fortress. The gases, chlorine and bromine, had taken a terrible toll on the Russian troops, had reacted with the moisture in their lungs, creating hydrochloric acid, which began to dissolve their flesh, causing them to cough up blood and even bits of their own lung tissue. They looked bloodied and zombie-like. Over 7,000 Germans advanced towards the Russian Soviet fortress, expecting minimal resistance after their gas bombardment. But the ghastly appearance of these walking dead Russians sent the German forces into a panic. The Russians charged at the Germans, who were probably thinking they were facing the actual walking dead. Terrified, the retreating Germans fled so swiftly that they ran into their own barbed wire traps. Number 8. Terrar. Terrar, also known as Terrar the Freak or Terrar the Glutton, was an 18th century Frenchman known for his extraordinary eating habits and appetite. He became famous for his ability to consume vast quantities of food and inedible objects. Terrar could reportedly consume vast amounts of food in a single sitting, often more than his own body weight. He was known to eat live animals, such as snakes, lizards, and puppies. Terrar's ability to swallow and digest non-food items, such as stones, silverware, and corks, was both astonishing and concerning. There are even accounts of Terrar attempting to eat human body parts, which led to his expulsion from the French Revolutionary Army. Number 7. Headless Chicken. Mike, the Headless Chicken's story is quite an extraordinary one. In 1945, a farmer named Lloyd Olson beheaded a chicken on his Colorado farm. Unlike other chickens, this one did not die as expected. Instead, it continued to live and even became somewhat of a celebrity. Olson's initial intention was to butcher the chicken for a meal, but he left part of the brainstem and one ear intact during the beheading process. Surprisingly, the chicken managed to maintain basic functions like breathing, heart rate, and motor functions due to the brainstem's involvement. Since most of its brain was removed, Mike's behavior was rather erratic. Mike was fed a mixture of milk and water through a dropper directly into his esophagus, as he could no longer eat in the traditional sense. Unfortunately, Mike's unusual existence came to an end after 18 months. While on tour in Phoenix, Arizona, he began to choke in the middle of the night. Despite attempts to clear his airway, he passed away. Number 6. The Great Emu War. After World War I, the Australian government allocated land to discharged veterans, especially in Western Australia, to encourage farming. In response to the Great Depression economic crisis, the government encouraged farmers to increase their wheat production. Despite government promises, wheat prices continued to decline, adding to the financial woes of farmers. During the same period, emus, after their breeding season, began migrating from inland regions to the coast. This migration led them to encounter the cultivated lands of the farmers. The emus found that the cleared lands with additional water supplies provided by the farmers offered favorable habitat. As a result, they started venturing into farmlands, causing significant crop damage. Thus, in November 1932, the government approved military intervention to deal with the emu problem. The soldiers were equipped with 2 Lewis machine guns and around 10,000 rounds of ammunition to deal with the emus. The first attempts at taking out the emus were unsuccessful. The birds scattered into smaller groups, making it difficult to eliminate them effectively. A second attempt in December yielded somewhat better results. Approximately 1,000 emus were killed, but many escaped the soldiers' fire. Despite their efforts, the soldiers were unable to significantly reduce the emu population. The operation was widely deemed a failure, leading to media ridicule and the nickname Emu War. The military operation was officially halted at the end of December 1932, with the government withdrawing the troops. Number 5. Champawat Tiger. The story of the Champawat Tiger is indeed a tragic and chilling account of a tiger that resorted to attacking humans. While tigers rarely attack humans, this particular tiger, known as the Champawat Tiger, developed a terrifying dependence on human meat to survive. With the destruction of her natural habitat and the disturbance of local ecosystems, the tiger's usual prey, such as smaller animals, became scarce. Poaching further reduced it, and thus the Champawat Tiger had no choice but to turn to humans as a source of sustenance. Over nearly a decade, she terrorized nearby villages, attacking and consuming humans for her survival. In 1907, the Champawat Tiger's killing spree came to an end when she was finally hunted down and killed. Number 4. Dentures from the dead. During the late 18th and early 19th centuries, many people, especially among the upper classes, faced significant dental issues. Factors like high-sugar diets and ineffective teeth whitening methods, which often damaged teeth enamel, contributed to the deteriorating dental health of many individuals. This created a high demand for dentures, which could replace missing teeth. One source of teeth for making dentures was the deceased. The teeth of the deceased were considered a valuable and readily available resource for dentists and dental artisans. Waterloo, the site of a historic battle, presented a unique opportunity to source teeth from the deceased soldiers who had recently lost their lives. Many of these soldiers had healthy teeth that could be repurposed for making dentures. Dentures have come a long way since then, but this part of their history shows the challenges people faced in maintaining good dental health. Number 3. Sugar, salt, and human. In the past, human remains were used as ingredients in medicines until the 20th century. These remains were often ground into a fine powder and made into pills or added to drinks. People believed that by ingesting a part of the body, it could cure illnesses in the corresponding part of their own body. For example, crushed skull powder was thought to cure headaches. Mummy remains were especially prized for their medicinal properties, and this high demand for human flesh contributed to the scarcity of mummies today. This practice may seem strange to us now, but it was once a common belief in the healing power of human remains. Number 2. Unsinkable imaginary ship. It's quite interesting to learn that a novel published in 1898 featured a story about an unsinkable ship that met a tragic fate by colliding with an iceberg. That is 14 years before the arrival of the original Titanic. Even more astonishing is the striking resemblance to the real-life Titanic disaster, including the shortage of lifeboats and the fact that the ship in the book was named Titan. Number 1. Ossuaries in church. During medieval and early modern Europe, large ossuaries became a common sight in many churches, decorated with thousands of human skeletons. These ossuaries served a practical purpose of conserving graveyard space. As time passed and it was believed that bodies had decomposed enough, they were dug out to make room for new burials. The use of ossuaries not only addressed graveyard concerns, but also created a unique and somewhat eerie form of decoration within the churches. That's all for today. Which one did you feel the most weird? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys soon.